Imagine you're Adrian Thorne, a powerful and arrogant billionaire, scorned and publicly humiliated by the woman you were supposed to marry. She left you for another man, but not before sending you an invitation to her wedding, a final cruel twist of the knife. Fueled by a desire for retribution, you devise a plan. Walking through the city's grittiest streets, you spot a young woman homeless and defiant with fire in her eyes. You make her an offer to attend the wedding as your date, and you'll give her enough money to change her life. But what you don't know is that this isn't a random encounter. She has her own reasons for accepting a hidden past that's dangerously intertwined with your ex-fiancée's. What happens when a game of revenge becomes a high-stakes chess match of secrets and lies? Will she be the key to your vengeance, or will she be your ultimate undoing? But before we dive into this thrilling story of pride, deception, and unexpected alliances, please subscribe to our channel for more tales of intricate twists of fate. And let us know in the comments where you're watching from today. Join us as we uncover whether Adrian Thorne's gamble will pay off, or if the mysterious woman from the streets will be the one to checkmate everyone. Adrian Thorne. An arrogant billionaire held a wedding invitation in his hands, the thick cardstock feeling like an insult against his skin. It was from his ex-fiancée, Amelia, the woman who had left him for another man without a shred of hesitation. And now she had sent this, an invitation that felt less like a courtesy and more like a deliberate attempt to rub her happiness in his face. "Is this a joke?" he muttered, tossing the envelope onto the polished marble of his coffee table. His friend Sebastian Vance picked it up and whistled low. "That's a low blow. Are you going—" Adrian let out a dry, humorless laugh. "And show up alone like a failure, no way." "Then take someone," Sebastian suggested. "Show her you've moved on." It was a good idea, but simply taking anyone wouldn't be enough. He needed to make an impact to leave Amelia wondering unsettled. Later that day, as he left his office tower, the thought was still consuming him when he noticed a young woman sitting on the sidewalk in front of a high-end restaurant. She was dirty, her clothes worn and frayed, but she possessed a striking, beautiful face. Her messy hair fell over her shoulders, and her eyes weren't pleading for sympathy. They were defiant. On a sudden impulse, he walked over to her. He approached with his hands in his pockets, looking down. "Hey, you need money." The woman looked up, but not with gratitude. Her gaze was sharp, assessing as if she were deciding whether he was even worth a second of her attention. Then a smirk played on her lips. "What is this, a social experiment, you ask? And depending on my answer, you either toss me a coin or walk away." Adrian's eyebrows lifted. No one talked to him like that. "Come with me to an event, and I'll pay you enough to change your life." She let out a quiet chuckle, shaking her head slowly. "Enough to change my life." Wow. Do you always use such dramatic lines, or just when you want to sound like some kind of savior? Pure sarcasm dripped from her voice, and it threw him off more than it should have. He maintained his composure. "You just need to dress up, smile, and come with me." She tilted her head, amusement flickering in her eyes. "Oh, I see. You want me to be your decorative doll for the night." Adrian narrowed his eyes. This woman was challenging him on purpose. "If you don't want the offer, I can find someone else." She laughed, this time out loud. "Is this a joke? Because honestly, I don't see a line of candidates waiting around here." He pressed his lips together. How the hell was she turning this around on him? She stood up, dusting off her worn dress, and stepped closer, too close. "I'll accept," she said as if she were doing him a favor, "but only because I'm curious." Adrian felt a dangerous current in the air. Curious about what? he asked, suspicious. She smiled, her eyes glowing with an unreadable expression. To see how far a man like you is willing to go. Adrian stood still for a moment, a single thought echoing in his mind. Who the hell was this woman? Elara settled into the plush leather seat of the luxury car, keeping her gaze fixed on the city blurring past the window. She didn't seem scared, nervous, or impressed, just observant. Adrian, sitting beside her, found himself waiting for some kind of reaction. There were no questions, no hesitation, just a quiet acceptance. "You don't even want to know where we're going?" he asked, breaking the tense silence. She turned to him, a smirk playing on her lips. "Someplace expensive, I imagine." Adrian raised an eyebrow. "And you're not curious? Should I be?" She tilted her head. "You found me on the street and offered me money to be your date. That's strange enough, but I doubt you're planning to sell me into human trafficking or something." Adrian laughed, a genuine, surprised sound. "No, nothing that dramatic. Just a social event." "A wedding, right?" He looked at her, his surprise growing. "How do you know? You have that look. A man trying to get revenge on someone." Adrian clenched his jaw. Elara was reading him like an open book, and he didn't like it one bit. "And if I am?" She shrugged. "Does it matter to me as long as I get paid?" He smiled. He liked her attitude, but he still wanted to understand who this woman was, someone who accepted everything so easily. Minutes later, the car stopped in front of an elegant, exclusive building, a renowned beauty salon. Elara stepped out without question and followed Adrian inside. The air smelled of expensive products, and a team of stylists rushed to assist them the moment he entered. "I want a complete transformation," Adrian ordered. "Hair, makeup, clothes, everything." The staff nodded, and within seconds Elara was seated in a styling chair. "If you want to change your mind, now's the time," she said as a hairdresser began to gently untangle her hair. "Change my mind about what? Me? I guess I was expecting someone more impressionable." Adrian crossed his arms. "Are you not impressed by anything? Not by this," Elara said, closing her eyes as the hairdresser started washing her hair. "I've been in this world before." Adrian frowned, but before he could ask what she meant, a stylist pulled him toward the waiting area. "Mr. Thorne, would you let us work?" He glanced at Elara one last time, intrigued, and left. The hours dragged on. When the stylist finally called his name, Adrian stood up and walked back to the main salon. When he saw her, he held his breath. The woman standing before him bore no resemblance to the person he had met sitting on the curb. Her once messy hair now fell in smooth, shiny waves. Her face, previously smudged with dirt and marked by exhaustion, was now flawless, her eyes accentuated by sophisticated makeup. The fitted dress flattered her figure, and the high heels made her look even more confident. But what surprised him the most was her expression. She didn't seem shocked or impressed by her own transformation. She simply looked at herself in the mirror, observing her reflection, as if she had seen herself like this 1,000 times before. "What is it?" She turned to him, catching his curious gaze. "You don't look surprised." Elara smiled, a mysterious glint in her eyes. "Because I'm not." Adrian crossed his arms. "Who are you, Elara?" She grabbed the purse the stylist handed her and walked toward him. "Someone who knows how to seize good opportunities when they come." The car glided smoothly down the illuminated road toward the event Adrian had been dreading, but was now strangely eager to attend. Beside him, Elara observed the landscape with an almost irritating calm. He had expected her to show some anxiety or nervousness, but since leaving the salon, her composure remained flawless, as if she were already intimately familiar with this world. "You're very quiet," Adrian commented, glancing away from the road to look at her. "I'm just enjoying the silence." Elara replied with a faint smile. He frowned. Most people in your situation would be dazzled by all of this. She laughed softly. Maybe I'm not like most people. Adrian realized that pressing her further would get him nowhere. There was something about her that intrigued him, but he wouldn't get answers so easily. The car finally stopped in front of the luxurious banquet hall, where hundreds of elite guests had already gathered. Outside, couples stepped out of limousines and sports cars showing off their jewelry and designer dresses. Photographers and journalists swarmed the entrance, ensuring every detail of the wedding was documented for the society pages. Adrian got out first, adjusting his suit with natural ease. Then he extended his hand to Elara, who accepted it without hesitation. When she stepped out of the car, the immediate impact was undeniable. All eyes turned to her. Women whispered among themselves, trying to figure out who the mysterious woman accompanying Adrian Thorne was. Men watched her with undisguised interest. Elara, however, didn't flinch. With impeccable poise, she lifted her chin and smiled discreetly, as if she were already accustomed to being the center of attention. Adrian guided her down the red carpet toward the entrance of the hall. As they walked, Elara maintained a serene expression, showing no surprise at the luxurious surroundings. "Follow my lead," Adrian whispered. "Be polite, smile, and don't draw unnecessary attention." She raised an eyebrow. "Did you bring me here to make your ex jealous, or to be invisible?" Adrian pressed his lips together, not answering. "That's what I thought," Elara said with a hint of amusement. They passed through the grand double doors and entered the main hall, where crystal chandeliers sparkled under golden light. The room was filled with high society figures, dressed in their finest attire. It didn't take long for Amelia and her fiancé to come into Adrian's line of sight. Amelia looked stunning in an elegant white dress, her smile perfectly crafted to charm everyone. Charles Montrose, her new husband-to-be, was exactly the type her family would approve of: wealthy, traditional, and utterly predictable. Amelia's eyes met Adrian's for a brief second. She seemed surprised to see him there, but then her gaze landed on Elara and froze. Amelia's expression changed subtly, a flicker of confusion and curiosity, as she tried to figure out who this dazzling woman next to her ex-fiancé was. With a calculated smile, Adrian led Elara directly toward them. "Amelia," he greeted her, his tone polite yet cold. She blinked a few times before forcing a smile. "Adrian, what a surprise. I didn't expect you to come." "Of course I came," he said, then looked at Elara. "And I brought company." Amelia examined Elara from head to toe. "We haven't been introduced. You are—" Before Adrian could respond, Elara extended her hand naturally. "Elara, a pleasure to meet you." Her voice was firm, elegant. Her posture was flawless, and her smile showed no sign of submission. Amelia hesitated before shaking her hand, clearly uncomfortable. "You look familiar," Amelia remarked, her eyes narrowing slightly. Elara smiled, tilting her head. "Do I—" Amelia forced another smile, but Adrian noticed the tension in her eyes. She was unsettled, exactly as he had wanted. Charles cleared his throat, trying to break the awkward atmosphere. "Shall we toast?" he offered, raising his champagne glass. Adrian nodded, but before he could turn, Elara gave a polite smile and said something that caught everyone off guard. "I hope you'll be very happy. Marriage is a serious commitment. I was once engaged myself." Adrian froze. Amelia and Charles exchanged uneasy glances. "Really?" Amelia asked, forcing a casual tone. Elara nodded, taking a sip of champagne. "But it didn't work out. My fiancé decided I wasn't the right choice for his family." Adrian felt a chill run through him. She was sending a clear message, and Amelia caught it. His ex-fiancée's eyes narrowed. "That's an interesting coincidence," she said tightly. Elara smiled. "I think so too." An uncomfortable silence filled the air. Adrian could tell Amelia was struggling to keep her composure. Finally, Elara lightly touched Adrian's arm. "Would you like to dance?" He blinked, surprised. "Dance?" "Yes. Or would you rather stay here and watch your ex-fiancée try to figure out where she knows me from?" Adrian chuckled softly. He liked the game Elara was playing. "Let's dance." They walked away, leaving Amelia behind, visibly disturbed. As they glided across the dance floor to the orchestra's melody, Adrian looked straight into Elara's eyes. "You did that on purpose," she smiled. "Didn't I tell you I've been in this world before?" Adrian felt a mix of irritation and admiration. Elara wasn't just some homeless woman he had found on the street. She knew exactly what she was doing. The music flowed smoothly through the ballroom as Adrian and Elara moved across the dance floor. His gaze remained locked on hers, trying to decipher the enigma she presented. Elara maintained a flawless composure, her lips curved into a mysterious smile, as if she knew precisely what she was doing and enjoyed every second of it. "You keep surprising me," Adrian murmured, leading her with practiced precision. "Is that a good thing or a bad thing?" Elara arched an eyebrow. "I haven't decided yet." She laughed softly, her eyes sparkling with amusement. "I think you've already realized that I'm not exactly what I seem. I've realized that you know much more about this world than you should." Elara tilted her head slightly. "Let's just say I've been surrounded by people like this before." Before Adrian could press for more, a group of businessmen approached, holding champagne glasses and offering friendly smiles. They were investors and magnates Adrian knew well. "Thorne," one of them said, shaking Adrian's hand. "You finally decided to show up at a social event." Adrian returned a firm handshake. "I thought it would be interesting to celebrate the couple." The businessman's attention quickly shifted to Elara, studying her with interest. "And who is your lovely companion?" Before Adrian could respond, Elara stepped forward and extended her hand naturally. "Elara, a pleasure to meet you." She spoke with such inherent confidence that none of the men questioned her presence. "Elara," one of them repeated, studying her. "Your face looks familiar." Elara smiled, keeping the mystery alive. "Perhaps we've met at an event before." The man nodded thoughtfully, but didn't press further. Adrian watched her closely. Elara was blending in far too easily. "And what do you do, Elara?" another businessman asked, intrigued. She picked up a champagne glass from a passing waiter, swirling the liquid before answering. "I enjoy observing the financial market. The rise in technology investments has been quite interesting lately, especially the new startups focused on artificial intelligence." There was a brief, stunned silence. Adrian almost laughed at the surprised expressions on the businessmen's faces. "That's a rather specific topic," one of the men commented. Elara smiled, taking a sip of her drink. "I just follow trends. After all, everything comes down to who gets the inside information first, doesn't it?" The men laughed, now more at ease. Elara had captured their interest. Adrian, however, felt a growing frustration. Elara wasn't just fitting in, she was taking over. Before he could intervene, a tall man with a distinguished appearance approached Damien Blackwood, one of the country's most influential investors, known for his sharp business instincts. "Elara Wright." Damien looked at her with interest. "You seem very comfortable here." She turned to him with a polite smile. "Maybe because I am." Damien laughed. I like that. And what's your relationship with Thorn? She shot Adrian a playful look before answering. Just an interesting partnership. Adrian felt his blood boil. Elara was playing her own game, and he didn't like losing control. Indeed, he interjected, taking the glass from her hand and handing it to a waiter. Now, if you'll excuse us, I need to steal my companion for a moment. He grabbed her wrist and led her to a more secluded area of the ballroom. What exactly are you doing? He asked through clenched teeth. Elara smiled. Just having fun. You're standing out too much. Wasn't that the plan to make your ex-fiancée jealous? Adrian narrowed his eyes. You play this game very well, Elara. She tilted her head. And you don't like it when you can't control the game, do you? Before he could respond, Amelia appeared beside them. I hope you're enjoying the party, she said politely, though her eyes assessed Elara with cautious intensity. Very much, Elara answered before Adrian could speak. Amelia forced a calculated smile. You know, Elara, I feel like we've met before. Maybe, Elara replied with a shrug. The high society world can be small after all. Adrian noticed the way Amelia pressed her lips together. And where do you know Adrian from? Amelia insisted. Elara smiled. I think it's more fun if that stays a mystery. Amelia let out a soft laugh, though it held a sharp edge. Of course. Mystery always adds an interesting touch, she said, then turned to Adrian. Can we talk for a moment? Adrian nodded, but before stepping away, he cast one last look at Elara. She simply smiled as if she knew exactly what was happening. Adrian followed Amelia to a private balcony. The night was cold, but the look on her face burned like fire. Who is she, Adrian? Amelia asked bluntly, crossing her arms. He kept his expression neutral. Elara, my companion. She let out a dry laugh. Don't treat me like a fool. I know the kind of woman you bring to events like this, and she doesn't fit the mold. Adrian felt a surge of irritation. What exactly do you want to know, Amelia? Where did she come from? She stared at him intensely. He hesitated for just a second, and that was enough for her to catch on. My God, she whispered, as if piecing together a puzzle. You found this woman on the street, didn't you? You brought a beggar here just to provoke me. I brought a confident, intelligent woman who fits in here perfectly, he countered firmly. A woman who knows too much for someone who was supposedly living on the street. Amelia retorted, narrowing her eyes. She doesn't belong in this world. Or does she? She raised an eyebrow. If I were you, Adrian, I'd be careful. That woman didn't show up in your life by chance. Without waiting for a response, she turned and walked back into the ballroom, leaving him alone with his doubts. Elara felt the stares as she moved through the guests, but she moved with ease. Then Amelia appeared in front of her again. You dance well, Elara smiled. Thank you. So do you. Amelia tilted her head, studying her. And you speak well. You know how to carry yourself. It wasn't a compliment. It was an observation. She took a step closer. You think you know me? I don't think. I know, Elara replied, her posture steady. A flash of something recognition fear crossed Amelia's face before she masked it. That's what I'm still trying to figure out, Amelia said with a tight smile, then disappeared into the crowd. Elara stood still, taking a deep breath. Amelia was starting to suspect, and that was a problem. In the car, Adrian drove in silence. You want to ask me something? Elara stated, not a question. I do, he said, not taking his eyes off the road. But I don't know if you'll answer. She smiled. Depends on the question. He made a sharp turn. "Who are you, Elara?" "The woman you chose to make an impression on your ex-fiancée." "No." His jaw tightened. "You know too much. You act like someone who has lived in this world before." She stayed quiet. He pulled up in front of his hotel and turned to face her. "I had you investigated." She didn't look surprised. "And what did you find?" "Nothing. You don't exist, Elara. No records, no recent information. It's as if you erased your own life." She gave a small, sad smile. "Maybe some things need to be erased. I don't like mysteries. Then maybe I'm not the right person for you." She opened the car door and stepped out, walking into the hotel without looking back. He sat still for a moment, his fingers gripping the steering wheel. She was hiding something, and he was going to find out what. Inside her room, Elara locked the door and leaned against it, her heart racing. Amelia was suspicious. Adrian was suspicious. She looked at herself in the mirror, the luxurious dress, the flawless makeup. For a moment, she looked like someone else. Or maybe she was just becoming who she had always been. She pulled out a hidden disposable phone and typed a short message. He started investigating. The reply came seconds later. "Then it's time for you to decide your next move." Elara deleted the message and let out a quiet sigh. She knew she couldn't keep this secret for long. Soon Adrian would find out the truth. Adrian Thorne was not a patient man. He liked direct answers, absolute control. But Elara was a mystery that defied his logic, and it bothered him more than he wanted to admit. That morning, he picked up the phone and dialed a number he hadn't used in a while. "I need you to look into someone for me," he said bluntly. A man chuckled on the other end. "It's been a while, Thorne. Who's the target?" "Elara." He paused. "No last name." "That makes things more interesting. I want to know everything. Where she came from, who she really is, and why she seems to be hiding something. Give me 48 hours. Adrian hung up. If Elara was playing a game, he would soon see her cards. Hours later, he drove to the hotel where she was staying and knocked on her door without warning. When she opened it, dressed simply, she didn't seem surprised. "Can we talk?" he asked. She stepped aside, letting him in. "I want to know the truth, Elara." She raised an eyebrow. "The truth about what?" "About you. Who are you really?" "Why does that bother you so much?" His fists tightened. "Because you came out of nowhere, accepted my offer without hesitation, and act like you already belong in this world. But there are no records of you anywhere." She was silent for a moment. "And what if I don't want to tell you? Then I'll find out on my own." She sighed, a flicker of resignation in her eyes. "Fine, Adrian. I'll tell you a little. I grew up in a world very similar to yours. Luxury parties, powerful connections. But that world can be cruel, especially when you become an obstacle to the wrong people." "Obstacle," he pressed. "My family was influential. My father ran businesses that involved a lot of money. But one betrayal made everything fall apart overnight. I lost everything." "Who betrayed you?" he asked, his voice sharp. Elara looked away. "Someone I trusted." He sensed there was more to the story. "Why did you erase your life?" She gave a sad smile. "Because sometimes it's safer to disappear." The silence between them grew heavy. He knew she wasn't telling him everything, but it was the first piece of the puzzle. "You can keep deceiving me, Elara," he said, standing up to leave. "But I will find out the truth." The next day, he received a call from his investigator. "I found something. You were right. Elara isn't who she pretends to be. Her real name is Elara DeSantis, daughter of Lorenzo DeSantis." Adrian's blood ran cold. He knew that name. The shipping tycoon. That's the one. But here's the interesting part. Lorenzo DeSantis went bankrupt a few years ago after a scandal involving embezzlement. And guess who was involved in that scandal? Adrian felt his breath quicken. Amelia Harrington. Exactly. A heavy silence. So Elara didn't show up by chance? Seems like she didn't. He hung up, staring out at the city below. Elara had a direct connection to Amelia. That changed everything. That evening he couldn't focus. Before he realized it, he was driving to her hotel. He needed to hear the truth from her own mouth. When she opened the door, her hair slightly messy, she looked surprised. "We need to talk." She sighed and let him in. "Can you stop testing me and just tell me the truth? Why did you accept my proposal?" She looked away for a moment before finally speaking, her voice low but steady. "Because Amelia Harrington destroyed my family." The words confirmed everything, yet hearing them from her made his stomach churn. "Tell me everything," he commanded, his voice softer than he intended. Elara walked to the window, hugging herself. "My father, Lorenzo DeSantis, owned one of the largest shipping companies in the country. He was an honorable man, until he trusted the Harringtons. Amelia came into the business as a strategic partner, someone he believed he could rely on. But in reality, she was manipulating him the whole time. Manipulating how? Creating fraudulent deals, embezzling money, putting his name on illegal transactions without his knowledge. When everything exploded, my father was accused of corruption. He lost everything. Our home, our dignity." Her voice wavered. "He passed away before he could defend himself." Adrian felt a pang in his chest. My God. After that, everything fell apart. She continued, her eyes fixed on the city outside. "My mother got sick shortly after. I tried to fight to prove his innocence, but Amelia had already closed all the doors on me. In no time, I had nothing left." "You survived on the streets." It wasn't a question. "Yes. And that's how I learned never to trust anyone again." He reached out and lifted her chin, forcing her to look at him. "You don't have to do this alone." She pulled her face away. "I don't need a savior, Adrian." "I know," he said, fighting the urge to insist. "But that doesn't mean you have to carry everything by yourself." She let out a soft, humorless laugh. "You think you can protect me? I think I want to." She blinked, surprised. "And why?" He let out a sigh. "Because I don't know what I'm feeling anymore when I'm around you." The confession hung in the air between them. "It means you make me uneasy. I've never felt this way before." "And does that bother you a lot?" she asked, her voice quiet. "I can't keep my distance," he admitted. She clenched her fists. "And what about Amelia?" The mention of her name brought him back to reality. "If everything you said is true, I don't know who she really is." "But I do," Elara said, her eyes hardening. "And I won't stop until I settle the score." He knew he couldn't convince her to back down. "Then I'll be by your side." She gave a small, bittersweet smile. Even knowing this could end very badly, he took a step forward, closing the distance between them. Even then. Later that night, his phone rang. It was the investigator. "Adrian, we have a problem. Amelia already knows Elara is around and she's not happy about it." His heart raced. "She's digging for information on Elara." "Keep me posted," he ordered, hanging up. Amelia wouldn't leave Elara alone. He needed to act before it was too late. The next morning, he found Elara on the hotel balcony, staring at the horizon. "You know she's found out, right?" "I know," he sighed. "She's not going to stop." "Neither will I," she replied, her voice steely. He watched her for a moment, the way her hair was slightly disheveled, the exhaustion in her eyes. Something inside him tightened. He saw a single tear slip down her cheek. It was instinctive. He pulled her into an embrace, holding her close against his chest. "It's going to be okay," he murmured. She didn't resist. She simply closed her eyes and rested her face against him. In that moment, without needing to say it aloud, they knew they were in this together. Amelia Harrington had no idea what was coming. Adrian felt that something was about to happen. Knowing Amelia's role in the destruction of Ilara's family changed everything. Now he wanted revenge, not just for Ilara, but for himself. He had almost married a woman capable of destroying lives without a second thought. That morning, he received another call. "Adrian, we have a problem. Olivia is up to something. My contacts say she's gathering information on Ilara. It looks like she's planning to expose something against her." "What exactly did she find out?" Adrian gritted his teeth. "I don't know yet, but she's already reached out to lawyers and journalists. If she's going that far, it means she has something big." "Find out what it is before she makes a move," he commanded. "I'm on my way to see her now." He found Ilara in her hotel room. "Amelia is making a move against you," he said, shutting the door behind him. "She's gathering information, planning to expose you publicly." Ilara didn't seem surprised. "I knew this would happen. And you're this calm about it." She laughed without humor. "After everything I've been through, Adrian, do you really think a scandal is going to scare me?" He admired her strength, but that didn't lessen the danger. "I can protect you," he said. "I told you I don't need a savior." "This isn't about saving you. It's about stopping her." He held her face gently. "Whatever it takes." For a moment, she just stood there, something vulnerable in her eyes, before she quickly hid it. "I don't want you to get hurt because of me," she whispered. He gave a faint smile. Too late for that. Before she could respond, her phone vibrated. An anonymous message: "Be careful who you trust. The past always comes back to haunt you." "That was Amelia," he stated. She deleted the message. "She's trying to intimidate me." "That means we're getting close to something." She nodded slowly. "Then we need to act before she does." The next morning, the scandal broke. Every major newspaper ran headlines: "Ilara DeSantis from luxury to the streets." The heiress who lost everything. The media was ruthless, painting Ilara as an opportunist trying to deceive the powerful. Amelia had made her first move. In his office, Adrian read every article, fury burning inside him. When Ilara walked in, he stood up. "Did you see it?" She nodded, tossing a magazine onto the table. "Amelia is trying to destroy me. Again." He clenched his fists. "That's not going to happen." She gave a soft laugh. "You always have that absurd confidence." He gently held her chin, making her look at him. "Because I never lose." Her eyes flickered with something close to hope. "Then let's make sure she loses this time," she said, her voice firm. "It's time to bring Amelia Harrington down," Adrian agreed. They stared at each other for a long moment, a silent pact forged between them. The scandal had dominated the headlines, but Ilara remained unfazed. She had waited years for this moment. That evening, she received an unexpected invitation. Private dinner at the Harrington Club. "Your presence is requested." "This is obviously a trap," Adrian said, reading the note over her shoulder. "I know." "Then you're not going." "Of course I'm going." She looked at him defiantly. "This is my moment, Adrian. I'm not running." He took a deep breath. "Then let's make sure Amelia is the only one who loses tonight." The Harrington mansion was filled with select guests. Ilara walked in alone, wearing an elegant black dress that exuded power. Adrian was already there, blending in. Then Amelia appeared. "Elara," she said, a venomous smile on her lips. "Glad you accepted my invitation." "You didn't give me much choice," Elara replied coolly. "I hope you've enjoyed the media attention. They loved your story." "I've gotten used to being the center of attention, something you've always wanted, haven't you?" Amelia's eyes flashed with anger before she regained her composure. "Dear, you've lost. Again. You'll never be someone again." Elara smiled. "You're wrong." Just then, Adrian appeared at her side, his imposing presence making Amelia stiffen. "Dear Amelia," he said, "it looks like you didn't read the papers today." He handed her an envelope. She opened it and turned pale as she read. It was a complete dossier, proving her involvement in the scheme that had ruined the DeSantis family documents, recording signatures. Undeniable evidence. "This is fake," she whispered, her hands trembling. "No, it's not," Elara said triumphantly, "and tomorrow morning it will be on every front page." Amelia completely lost her composure. "You can't do this to me." "Just like you did to Elara," Adrian said coldly. Amelia looked around, realizing all eyes were on her. The scandal had already begun. Her reputation was ruined. Before she could react, the ballroom doors swung open. 2 police officers walked in. "Miss Amelia Harrington," one of them announced, "you are under arrest for financial fraud, embezzlement, and market manipulation." The entire ballroom fell silent. As she was being handcuffed, she screamed at Adrian, "Say something!" He simply looked at her with indifference. As she was dragged away, she shot one last look at Elara, her eyes burning with hatred. "This isn't over. For you it is." In front of the elite who once admired her, Amelia was taken away. Elara let out a long breath. For the first time in years, she felt truly free. Later that evening in his penthouse, she held a glass of wine deep in thought. "You did it," Adrian said. "We did it," she corrected him. "And now, I start over." He felt an unfamiliar tightness in his chest. "I want to help you." He handed her another envelope. "This is a proposal for a new business. A company in your name." She blinked, surprised. "Adrian, I don't need your charity." "This isn't charity," he chuckled. "It's a partnership. You have talent vision. I want you to have something that belongs to you." She hesitated. "All right. But on one condition, I do this my way," he smiled. "You always do." The air between them changed. She didn't resist when he pulled her into a kiss. This time, there were no barriers. The tension, the unspoken feelings, everything erupted. After the kiss, she pulled back, met his gaze, and softly said, "Good night, Adrian," before turning and walking away. He stood still, but he knew she felt something too. Days later, DeSantis Consulting was born. Elara threw herself into it, reclaiming her place in the business world. Adrian stayed by her side, never imposing, always present. One night he realized he had to tell her. "I'm in love with you," he said without hesitation. She was caught off guard. "Adrian, I'm not ready for a relationship. I just got my life back." He nodded, though it hurt. "All right. You always understand," she said with a soft smile. "But I'm not a man who gives up easily." In the weeks that followed, he made sure she knew it. Every morning, a fresh cup of coffee on her desk. Dinners between business partners. Small surprises. He supported her, warned her about deceitful investors, used his influence to protect her reputation. Months passed, and DeSantis Consulting grew stronger. Elara had control over her life, but she couldn't deny William was always there. One evening at a business gala, she was approached by Liam Bisset, a renowned French investor. He was charming, charismatic, and persistent. After a dance, he led her to the bar. "So tell me," he murmured, Does a powerful woman like you ever make time for fun? Before she could answer, she felt a penetrating gaze from across the room. It was Adrian, his face serious, his eyes dark with something she recognized instantly, jealousy. He crossed the room with determined strides. "Isabella, may I speak with you for a moment?" His voice was laced with tension. "We're in the middle of a conversation," she said, trying to maintain composure. He pulled her away to a secluded hallway. "What was that?" she demanded, furious. "I couldn't stand seeing that guy hitting on you, and that gives you the right to act like a complete idiot." "You're right," he finally admitted. "But I hate the idea of seeing you with another man." "I'm not yours, Adrian. You have no right to be jealous." She turned to leave, but he followed her to the parking lot. "Isabella, wait. I want you to listen to me. I've heard enough. You can't control me." The tension between them was explosive. Suddenly, he pulled her toward him and kissed her. It was a desperate kiss, filled with anger and suppressed desire. She froze for a second, then, unable to resist, kissed him back. But reality hit, and she pushed him away. "You can't do that." "I know you felt it," he said, his voice ragged. "That doesn't justify anything." She got into her car and sped away, leaving him behind. The next day, he showed up at her office. "I came to apologize. For the jealousy or for the kiss you stole? Both." "Good. Now, if you don't mind, I have work to do." He left without another word. That night, as she approached her car, she noticed the window had been scratched. A single word crudely etched into the glass, "Beware." Her blood ran cold. Before she could decide what to do, a message appeared on her phone. "Alone, you won't get anywhere. Know when to quit." This time she didn't hesitate. She dialed Adrian. He answered on the second ring. "What happened? Someone scratched my car and I just got a threat." His silence lasted only a second. "I'm on my way." When he arrived, his expression was hard. "Are you okay?" he asked, already calling his private security. As she watched him take control, she felt an odd sense of relief that he was there. The following days were tense. They discovered the attacks were being orchestrated by one of Amelia's former associates. Elara scheduled a meeting, and with Adrian by her side, made it clear she wouldn't be intimidated. "Did you think you'd scare me?" she said, her voice calm. "I've lost everything before. There's nothing that will make me back down now." The man knew he had lost. The attacks stopped. She realized that throughout it all, Adrian had been by her side not to save her, but to support her. One evening, he walked into her office. "It's been 3 months since you opened the company." He tossed a small box onto her desk. Inside was a silver keychain with the letter E engraved on it. "To celebrate." She smiled, a warmth spreading through her chest. "Thank you." "Will you ever stop running from me?" he asked softly. Her heart pounded. She knew the answer but couldn't say it yet. "It's okay," he said, sensing her hesitation. "Like I said, I'm patient." When he left, she let out a breath she didn't realize she was holding. She was close to giving in, but that decision scared her more than any threat. The next day, Adrian didn't show up. It was unusual. He didn't call, didn't text. By 8 p.m., she couldn't take it anymore. She drove to his penthouse and used the spare key he'd given her. The apartment was dim and silent. Then she saw him lying on the couch, pale and breathing heavily. He was burning up with a fever. "It's just the flu," he murmured hoarsely. "I'm taking you to the hospital," she said, grabbing her phone. "No," he stopped her. "I just need to rest. I hate needles." She sighed in frustration. "You're impossible." She spent the entire night taking care of him, making tea, changing the cold cloth on his forehead. At some point, exhaustion took over, and she fell asleep on the floor, her head resting near his chest. The next morning, she woke to his gentle touch in her hair. "Did you stay here all night?" he asked, his voice stronger. "Someone had to take care of you," she said, standing up. He smiled. "I feel much better. I think I had the best nurse in the world." After she prepared breakfast, he took a deep breath. "I love you, Elara." She froze. "I know you feel the same. I saw it last night, the way you were worried." She bit her lip. This time there was no reason to deny it. "I love you too, Adrian." His eyes lit up with happiness. "Finally," he murmured, pulling her into a tight embrace. "You're so persistent." "And it was worth it," he whispered back. Later, he took her to a secluded cabin on a private beach. "Before I met you," he began, as they sat on a rock, watching the ocean. "I was arrogant, ambitious. I only cared about power. But you came along and challenged me. You were the first person who wasn't afraid to stand up to me. You made me see the world differently. You made me a better man. I never wanted to change you, Adrian. But you did. And I fell in love with this version of you." He stood up and pulled a small box from his pocket, opening it to reveal a sparkling diamond ring. "Elara DeSantis. I want to do this the right way. I want to love you the way you deserve, with respect, with patience, and with all my heart. Will you marry me?" Tears filled her eyes. She didn't have to think twice. "Yes." He smiled and slipped the ring onto her finger before pulling her into a passionate kiss. At that moment, she knew there were no more barriers between them. This was only the beginning. Months later, the big day arrived. The ceremony took place in a beautiful garden by the sea. When Elara appeared at the aisle, Adrian's heart stopped. She was stunning. During his vows, he said, "From the moment I first saw you, you challenged me. You taught me to be a better man. You made me see that power and money mean nothing if I don't have someone by my side to share life with. I promise to love, respect, and make you happy every day of my life." Her own voice was thick with emotion. "Adrian, I spent my life fighting alone, thinking I could never trust anyone. But you were persistent. You never gave up on me. And today I know I never want to live without you." Their honeymoon was perfect. Their life as a married couple was even better. Then something began to change. She felt strange, tired, nauseous. A pregnancy test confirmed it. 2 lines. But the doctor's visit brought an even bigger surprise. When Adrian got home, he found her on the couch holding an ultrasound. "Adrian," she said, her eyes shining, "I'm pregnant." He froze for a second. "We're having twins." His eyes widened before a huge smile spread across his face. "Oh my God," he laughed, pulling her into a strong hug. "We're having 2 babies." "Yes," she laughed through her tears. He held her face in his hands and kissed her deeply. "You just gave me the best news of my life. I love you so much, Adrian. And I love you more." The following months were a joyful roller coaster. At the baby shower, they revealed they were expecting a boy and a girl. Adrian held Elara close and whispered, "We built an empire together. Now we'll build a family." She smiled, her heart overflowing with happiness. "And it'll be the best one ever." At that moment, Elara knew she had everything she'd ever dreamed of: a home, true love, and now a growing family. She would never be alone again.